Hi, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Libby and I am going to be teaching you how to make a very easy pumpkin bread today. I have my ingredients out, my hands are clean, I am ready to go. So if you're baking this along at home, you can choose to either use pumpkin puree from a can, or if you have pumpkins growing in your garden, you can check out the blog post that is associated with turning your pumpkins into pumpkin puree. Let's get started. We are going to start off our recipe with 1 cup of oil. I have my liquid measuring cup here. I'm going to move things out of the way so that I can put my cup on a flat surface. I'm going to take my oil and I'm going to get down to the level of that 1 cup line so that I can make sure I have the right amount. Once I'm sure I have it exact, we're going to add it right into our bowl. Next, we're going to add 2 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. We're going to do this by taking our measuring cup. I have my sugar here in a separate bowl because my sugar container is a little too small to fit my 1 cup in, but this makes it nice and easy. I can scoop, overfill. I'm gonna shake anything extra off, and then I'm gonna level off my top. So I'm just gonna take my spatula here. My one edge is pretty straight. I'm gonna level it off and add 1 cup in. Then I'm gonna do the same thing again for my 2nd cup. Scoop to overflowing. If you need to get a little more in there, you can. And I can't quite get enough, so I'm gonna take this other cup in here and I'm just gonna fill in these gaps. There we go. And I'm gonna do the same thing as before. I'm gonna take my spatula, I'm gonna take the straight edge, and I'm gonna level it off. Cup number 2 is going in. Now we're gonna measure out 2/3 of a cup. Now I only have a 1/3 cup measuring cup, so I'm gonna do this 2 times. I'm gonna scoop to overflowing, and then I'm gonna level off, just like before. There's 1 of my 1/3, and here is gonna be my 2nd. And again, I'm a little bit short here. Add a little bit more sugar on top so that I have enough that I can easily sweep off the top. So 2 2/3 cup of sugar is right in our bowl. Now we're gonna crack 4 eggs and add them in. And one tip that I like to do, I like to crack my eggs in a separate container, just in case you get any shells or anything in there. It makes it a little easier to pick them out of here than it is going to be to pick them out of there. So we're gonna take our 4 eggs. I'm gonna crack them on a flat surface. This is gonna help make sure that none of those edges curl up and get inside my egg. It's gonna help keep those shells out. I'm gonna crack 1 egg down. Again, crack that egg on the counter, flat surface. Egg number 2. Egg number 3. And finally, egg number 4. If you happen to get a shell in there, you can use the remaining shell that you have in your hand to carefully scoop it out. It's much easier than going in with your fingers. My 4 eggs are gonna go right into my bowl. Now I'm gonna take my pumpkin puree. Again, I'm just using a can, and you want it to be about 15 ounces. That's gonna be the standard size of one of these cans. I'm gonna get in there and scoop all of this pumpkin puree out. The thing I really like about this recipe is that this pumpkin puree makes it really tender. It's a really nice moist bread, and it's really easy to make. Once you've gotten all of your pumpkin puree out, we're gonna move on to mixing our ingredients together. You can do this with a spatula or a whisk. I'm using a spatula today just to save on dishes. Because let's be honest, who likes to do dishes? It's the worst thing about baking. having to do the dishes afterwards. So we're gonna mix this together really, really well. Pretty much all of our liquid ingredients are coming together. Once we have this pretty well mixed, we're gonna add in our water. And we have 2/3 of a cup of water. Now I've already measured that out, but you wanna do it the same way you're measuring out your oil. You wanna make sure it's nice and level, get down, and make sure you have just the right amount. We wanna be very precise when we're baking. So that's gonna go right into my bowl. I'm gonna mix this together carefully, but it doesn't have to be too well mixed because we're gonna add the flour in and then mix just to combine. Next, we're going to add in our flour. We're adding in 3 1/3 cup. So I'm using the same measuring cups that I have from before, my 1 cup and my 1/3 cup, and we are going to measure this out pretty carefully. I have my container of flour here, and I always keep a scoop inside of here. If you don't have a scoop like this, you can use a nice big spoon, but having a scoop is really handy. It helps you to be able to fluff, sprinkle, and sweep really easily into your measuring cups. So I'm taking my measuring cup, and I'm going to fill it up so that it's overflowing. Once I have that mountain of flour up over the top, I'm gonna take my straight edge, which most of the time I just use the top of my flour container. Cup number 1 is going right in. Fluff, sprinkle, so that we have that nice big mountain of flour over top. And again, take a flat edge. This could be a dough scraper, a knife. Cup number 2, ready to go in. One more full 1 cup of flour. So fluff, sprinkle. Gotta add a little more in there. I've got a little space that doesn't have quite enough. We want every bit filled. So I've got that nice big mountain of flour over the top. And then I'm gonna sweep off the top. Cup number 3. Now we can take our 1/3 cup and we're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna fluff, sprinkle, and sweep, and we're just gonna fill this up once. So I fluffed up my flour. I'm sprinkling it into my 1/3 cup so that I have that mountain of flour over the top, and then I'm leveling it off. That 1/3 cup is gonna go right in on top, and now we're going to add our smaller ingredients. So I've got these ingredients here, and you're going to need a 1/2 teaspoon and a 1 teaspoon. We're gonna start off with baking powder, and we're gonna measure out 1/2 teaspoon of that. Now, I'm just gonna use the edge of my spatula to level that off. That's going in. Now I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of baking soda. These are going to be our leavening agents. They're gonna help things get nice and light and fluffy. I'm gonna take both my 1/2 and my 1 teaspoon, and I'm gonna do 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I'm gonna start with my 1/2, level that off. Then I'm gonna go in with my 1 teaspoon, level that off. And we're gonna finish up with 1 teaspoon of nutmeg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now for our vanilla, we're actually gonna measure this right over the bowl. Nothing ever hurt any recipe with having a little extra vanilla in it. So we're gonna take it, we're gonna hold it right over top of our bowl. That way if we overflow, it'll go right into our recipe. Now we are going to mix these together very carefully, and we're just gonna mix to combine. So we don't need to mix it really, really hard. We're just mixing it so that all of our ingredients are mixed together. I like to go kind of around my edges and make sure I get all the way to the bottom, just so that we don't miss any spots. I want to get all that flour incorporated. I start mixing things in, you're gonna start seeing that we've got little lumps in here. We're gonna mix until those are pretty much all gone, but it doesn't need to be perfectly smooth. We just don't want any big lumps of flour. I'm gonna go around the outside of my bowl one more time, and I like to just turn my bowl as I go around. It makes it a little easier on you, the baker. And that is looking perfect. This is ready to go into our pans. Now there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can make a couple of large loaf pans, standard size loaf pans, but I like to make these, it makes such a large amount of bread that I actually like to divide these into a little bit smaller units. So I like to make either 4 of this little size, and I'll put in the comments what this size is. I don't exactly remember. I want to say it's 3 by 5. And then I like to do a little bit bigger, and you can make 1 or 2 depending on if you do a couple of these and 1 of these, or if you do 2 of these. So we're gonna spray these, and I will be right back to show you what they look like once they're in their containers. We are back. We're ready to put our sparkling sugar on top of these. Now, if you don't have sparkling sugar, that's okay. They're gonna bake up and be beautiful and delicious even without it. But the sparkling sugar really does add something if you are giving these as a gift. So I have some sparkling sugar here. I'm just gonna take a pinch with my clean hands, and I'm gonna go right over the top. This ended up making 3 of these little 3 by 5s, and it made 2 of the larger size. If you're adding mix-ins in here, if you're adding the nuts or chocolate chips, you're going to have even more loaf pans to fill. So make sure you're aware of that. I would probably be able to do at least 2 more of these little ones if I had added in any other mix-ins. We will check back in after these bake up and show you how they turned out. All right, these are out of the oven and they are looking beautiful. Again, one of the reasons that I really like to do different sizes is because I like to bake these to share. One of the main things we do with Bake for Good is we encourage you to bake for the good of others. So if you make this recipe, share in the comments with who you decided to share half or more of the recipe with, and show us some photos. We'd love to see your photos of you sharing safely with the hashtag Bake for Good. Thank you so much, and hope you have a great rest of your fall.